Okay, I know this isn't the way you guys want to get warmed up or excited, but hey, we're going to talk a little bit about compliance. Just give me 2 minutes, maybe three, and then we'll hand it over to the panel. And actually, this may be a relevant discussion or a topic you may want to follow up with us afterwards on, particularly with the panel, because we are in the UK, and this is a particularly relevant regulation here in the UK. So, who here has never heard about the financial promotions regime? I envy you. Okay, so the financial promotions regime is a consumer protection regulation here in the UK that came into play October of last year, and it requires an enhanced level of protection and disclosures around what the UK now classifies as high-risk investments, which are all crypto assets, basically. So there's been a lot of turmoil and confusion, especially among players in this market. Or in this industry. Anybody who wants to serve the UK has traditionally been able to do so via on-ramps like any of us. However, what we're starting to see is, and what's become very, very clear since the beginning of this year, is that the FCA has taken an extremely broad view of their definition of financial promotion, which is basically anything that directs a user to the purchasing of crypto assets. So we're actually seeing a number of non-custodial wallets, Web3 games, just a broad range of what would not be traditionally regulated firms falling afoul of the FCA's rules and actually getting placed on the unauthorized list. You do not need to be a UK-based firm to have any issues with this. So there's been a number of firms that have been blocked out of the App Store because of falling onto the FCA's warning list, as well as they're struggling to get local payment partners. So, why am I bringing this up? Not to bring down the mood, but we are in constant communication with the FCA ourselves. We are working with a number of advisors. There's been a lot of changes in the advisors' views throughout the market. But what we're starting to come to the understanding of is really what the FCA is expecting, and that is for firms to use what are called third-party FinProm approvers or authorized approvers, Section 21 approvers. Sorry, there's like 5 different names for the same thing. We've set up a partnership ourselves with one of them, and anybody who is interested, we have the ability to have an all-in-one package for on-ramp that allows you to continue to communicate about your on-ramp and crypto asset purchases or sales through your app. So definitely, please come talk to us if you want to know more, or if you're struggling, if you have any communication from the FCA yourself, we can help you out. So back to Jose.
Yeah, you should. Thank you, Steven. So we're not going to waste any more time. I'm actually going to do this very quick because we are already running over time. So revolutionizing transactions, decrypting the future of global Fiat-to-Crypto. We have 4 panelists and 1 moderator. I'm going to introduce the panelists, and please walk in as I introduce you. First, Szymon. I'm going to try this, so you don't kill me, Sypniewicz. I tried this about 4 times already, can't do it. Is our CEO and founder from Ramp, and then Pavel Matveev, co-founder and co-CEO of Wirex. Stefan George, founder of Pay. Evgeny Yurtaev, CEO and co-founder of Zerion. Thank you very much. And the unique moderator, we bring the head of business development from Trust Wallet, Pierre.
Hey, thanks a lot for joining us today. So I'm going to try to moderate this beautiful paper for us. So first, could you start by a short introduction about yourself, your company, and more about the main subject, how you are contributing to improving the payment in Web3?
Let me start, I guess. Thanks all for coming here. I'm Evgeny. I'm a co-founder of Zerion. Zerion is what we call a crypto wallet for everything on chain. So we are primarily focused on the EVM ecosystem. And I guess I have the least connection to the theme of the panel here, because the only thing where we touch Fiat-to-Crypto is on the on-ramp side of things. So we provide obviously an easy, we work with a number of people on this panel to really help users to onboard into crypto. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm Stefan, co-founder of Gnosis and Gnosis Pay. Been starting this project called Save, also at Gnosis, and yeah, we recently, or like already 2 years ago, started embarking on a new journey, which is Gnosis Pay, which allows people to have a self-custodial Visa card. And so basically we allow every one of you to use your crypto at 80 million merchants which accept Visa. So that's a very effective way to increase the utility of the crypto that you have. We recently launched the card, shipped it to the first few hundred customers that are using it on a daily basis, and yeah, it's nice to see adoption grow slowly. And yeah, we will try to help teams like his to not only work on the on-ramp, but also use this card as an off-ramp mechanism.
Hello everyone, I'm Pavel, co-CEO and co-founder of Wirex. Wirex is a London-based fintech with 6 million retail customers. Most of the people probably know us for Wirex app and crypto debit card. We're license regulated, principal member of Visa MasterCard. And we recently announced WPay. This is a decentralized payment network, very similar to what Gnosis Pay is doing. Yeah, might be relevant for this conversation.
Szymon, co-founder and CEO of Ramp Network. We are building infrastructure to make your every Web3 touchpoint, both onboarding and offboarding, and we're going to talk about off-ramping a lot here. One touch for all of our users. We are integrated into probably most of the Web3 products that you use every day. And once you are a Ramp user, all of your onboarding and off-ramping interactions to Web3 across all these products are going to be one touch. And our mission is to make sure that we know that Web3 is really powerful, but it's not yet quite delightful, and we are working to make sure that all of your user journeys are going to be a delight from the very get-go, and not just only after they are onboarded.
Thanks for all these details. As everyone knows now, you're all working in the payment industry for crypto. You are so the main gateway to onboard people in crypto. It's going through your different app and channels. So how you are bridging the fiat to crypto? What are the challenges to do this industry, and how you are addressing them?
I guess I can start as the wallet that directly benefits from the on-ramping experience. So we have a challenge of onboarding new users because we are not an exchange. So Zerion is a wallet, and that means that any new user, they obviously have to go through the process of key setup, but then they have to fund it somehow. And for us, the on-ramp piece is very crucial. And I think the challenges that we've been facing really with on-ramps is that you have to go through the KYC process, even for and that kind of kills a lot of the conversion rates in terms of funding the wallet. And in terms of the on-ramp itself, I think the biggest issue was really localization of payment. So different countries require different procedure in terms of funding and KYC, and that's why we chose to work with actually multiple on-ramp providers to make that experience more simple, but at the same time that still is, I think, far away from being completely solved, and we're looking for other ways how we can kind of make this experience vertically integrated, such that it doesn't feel that you're going to some external provider. You have to pass your KYC data to someone else that you have never heard about potentially. So all of these issues are still present, and yeah, I guess on the on-ramping side, that would be our challenges.
Yeah, I think for probably everyone in this room, it's a true fact that everyone's using centralized exchange for a lot of the off-ramps and on-ramps still. And for me personally, actually, the role of a centralized exchange has been reduced to exactly that purpose. And at Gnosis Pay, we are thinking about how can we actually get rid of centralized exchanges altogether, which then basically drives to the question, how do you do a better on and off-ramp experience? And obviously the card is a way to off-ramp, but it doesn't answer the question, how do you get money on the card? And we have been closely working with teams that try to really, I would say, reduce the role of a centralized exchange to the bare minimum of the on and off ramp. One team we have been working closely with is called Monerium. They've been basically integrating SEPA, the SEPA transaction system, in a way that you can trigger an on-chain transaction with a SEPA transaction and vice versa, allowing you to issue a stablecoin EUROE, which you can now use on our card. And that makes then the on-ramp experience very simple. Like you can just do a simple bank transfer to send 100 euros directly to your card, which is then represented as 100 euros on-chain. And that is not only the cheapest way, it's also the fastest actually, because if you think about how other on-ramps work, you have to go like log into the exchange or whatever the on-ramp provider is, and so on, and then deposit funds, and then actually you can trade it and pay fees for it, and then you have to withdraw to your account. It's a very cumbersome process. Other projects have been very good at streamlining this, like Ramp, but Monerium is just a very different approach to that, like directly integrating it basically into the fiat world. And we're exploring this now with many other like transaction systems as well across the globe. For example, in Brazil, there's a system called PIX, which is extremely advanced, basically central bank trying to enable a new system of how you can do transactions very cheaply and fast, and that can also be nicely integrated even into blockchain. Those kinds of innovations, I think, will ultimately replace what we currently use for on and off ramp, and make it almost indistinguishable, like if you operate in your bank account or on chain. That's what we try to innovate as well. So of course, I fully agree, the number one problem is also there's so many different systems that you potentially have to integrate. It's a lot of work, but it's not unfeasible. Like I think it's just a matter of implementing them one by one, depending on what makes most sense strategically. And I think especially, of course, emerging markets are quite interesting for this.
From my side, well, first of all, payment is quite broad term. There are on-ramp, off-ramp use cases, cross-border international payments, machine-to-machine payments, these sort of things. So I'll probably focus on just one use case where Wirex is probably known for, the card. Again, echo just what you, Stefan, just said about the card. So the card, if you think about that, what card provide you access to the merchant networks, because yes, it's much easier to pay with USDC with merchant, but merchant acceptance will take forever. So it's much easier to be plugged in and integrate into existing 80 million merchant network of Visa, MasterCard, rather than convincing all the merchants one by one. So that's kind of the cool advantage. So it's user-friendly, it gives you the cheapest and quickest off-ramp, but also if you think this crypto debit cards actually have a lot of potential in cross-border and remittance use case, because the debit card is actually ultimate last mile, right? So there was a gentleman from Circle was talking about that moving USDC from one private key to another private key as a remittance use case. And yes, there is a transfer in value, but what you're going to do with this value, you still need to be able to use it to pay for goods and services. And you think about this, the card is actually ultimate last mile solution, not just for everyday purchases or this replacement of exchanges, but it's actually last mile for cross-border case, which is quite cool.
So you asked about some of the challenges we face while trying to facilitate these payments and bridge Web 2 and Web 3. And I think there are three main dichotomies or tensions that we as an on-ramp have to manage. So first of all, we promise one touch everything Web 3. And this means that we need to partner up with pretty much everyone in this space, a little bit like Visa and MasterCard. You expect that whenever cards are accepted, Visa and MasterCard are going to be accepted. One interesting challenge that comes with it is that all of our partners are global from day one. if you build in Web3, this comes with a lot of inherent challenges, but one of the nice superpowers of building in Web3 is that the moment you launch your product, you're live in all countries. And when you try to bridge this global scale with fiat payments, it becomes very clear that the payments of today are not built this way. And SEPA got mentioned, and PIX got mentioned, and even Visa got mentioned. We, in the Western world, are sort of associating Visa and MasterCard with like, you know, a global octopus that reaches all corners of the world. But for more than half of the internet population, Visa and MasterCard are not the preferred ways to pay. And so how we bridge this gap between users' expectations that are rooted in their local sort of expectations in terms of UX and local habits, with the fact that all of our partners are global, is a very aggressive, rapid global expansion. So we already support dozens of different methods, and we're going to launch more, be it PIX that we support today, SEPA Instant, that is very relevant in Europe, faster payments, real-time payments, ACH payouts, and a lot more. And this quarter we're going to launch many more of these. And it's like, honestly, it's very hard to keep up because our partners come to us and say, hey, like, give us this country and that country, and like this country is like really promising. And it's a real challenge. But we believe that whoever is going to canvas this space is going to need to be everywhere in terms of fiat payments, but also everywhere in terms of like, you know, partnering up with everyone in Web3 to get this ubiquitous status. The second sort of tension is between what people are used to expect in Web 2.0, so instant one-click experience, and the expectations that come with dealing with money, especially compliance expectations. And so to bridge this, like KYC was mentioned, right? And it's not really a great experience if you try to just buy some crypto for $40 to try out a game experience, and then they tell you to show your passport. And there are only two ways to navigate this. The first way is how you navigate this experience for a first-time user. So obviously you need to fine-tune your compliance setup and fraud setup to make sure that you can apply as many KYC methods that do not require this identity check as possible. And for certain jurisdictions and certain low-risk transactions, this is possible. But even more importantly, again, the effects of scale and the critical mass of a user base of someone like Ramp, with millions of users who are already onboarded, pre-KYC'd, and for them, re-engaging with the same on-ramp really means that there is this entire experience is one click, right? So like short term, you need to make sure that you offer as many verification methods that do not require you to pull out your passport, and Brazil is a great example. We launched a system where you just take your national identity number, you give it to us, you scan, you do a quick selfie to prove that you are that person, and then the KYC is done. And there's going to be more and more. We're launching a fairly similar setup based on social security number in the US, and many more to come. And then you need to build a user base with pretty much every user that matters in the space to be able to go to your partners and say, hey, like all of the people you're after are already onboarded with Ramp, come to us because these people are going to have a one-click experience because they are already onboarded. So no passport scanning involved because they are customers of ours already. And the third one, real quick, is that Visa and MasterCard are shortcuts to global presence, but the cost is prohibitive and growing. So like Visa just announced another price hike for high risk transactions. So there is also this race to plug in as many local payment methods as possible, not just because people are used to it, but also to be able to give people rates that make sense, especially if their primary goal is not to play a game, but maybe save some money and invest it with a DeFi protocol, for example. This is a very high, they are very sensitive on the price, so we are also racing to get as many low-cost alternative payment methods to cards as possible. And this is like basically the core framing of what we are trying to do to make sure that someone like Zerion can offer an experience that is on par with what Coinbase can offer today.
Yeah, thanks a lot for...
But better, because non-custodial.
Of course. Thanks a lot for this detailed answer. I couldn't be more agree than currently our mission in Web3 is to improve the overall user experience. Payment is currently the first experience a user could try to try wallets, for example, like Zerion or Trust. So yeah, I'm sharing that vision about how payment and should innovate in general. The thing is, as it has been mentioned at the beginning, regulation is more and more complex in something who is taking more and more space for every project here, and the cost of the regulation compliance is increasing for everyone here. How are you monitoring that? How are you collaborating with the different regulator? And how are you succeeding to match this new obligation with the innovation you want to launch on the market for Web3 and payment?
I can start again, but in terms of how we do that, we try to avoid fiat as much as possible, to be honest. And for us, that was the strategic decision, really. So like we do want to outsource that to someone else who can take the responsibility of working with the regulator. And I think this is the perspective of any dApp or even most of the wallets, except for like, I guess the biggest ones, to really offload that to someone else. So we obviously have our internal compliance within Zerion, but we are not capable of like keeping track of everything and every regulation and every like change in every jurisdiction, because as Simon mentioned, we're truly global. I was just looking up the distribution by countries, and it's just like the whole world is marked with like similar shades of blue. So it's a truly global product. We cannot monitor everything, so we're trying to just keep the user safe and provide the experience that we can do what is in our power. But then everything else that touches, I guess, like what Gnosis Pay would do with like a card to pay for stuff, or with like on-ramping, it's not really our job.
Yeah, so exactly what Evgeny just said. All their problems they can offload to us. And I've been in his camp before, where like I think with Gnosis, initially we tried to get a license, which was very difficult for prediction markets. We gave this process up eventually. Then we built a lot of self-custody solutions, where we kind of could push these problems to the edge. Now with Pay is exactly the opposite. We don't see them as problems. We see them more like as opportunities for many reasons. Like one is regulation is not inherently bad. Like there's a reason why there's regulation. And I think there's also an opportunity that we have as an industry to actually shape the opinion that regulators have in terms of how things can be addressed. Because regulations was not done with Web3 in mind, they were done with Web2 in mind. And Web3 offers new opportunities that regulators might not even know and be aware of. And we can talk to the regulators when we are actually also taking them seriously, being a regulated business, to shape their approach to regulation and how it can actually be accomplished. Because no regulator will concretely define like how something is actually implemented. They will only write down like what they expect from you, and there are many ways to interpret this and implement it. And that's what we are trying to do right now. So with Gnosis Pay, actually Gnosis Pay is the first and I think only Gnosis business has ever been actually regulated. It has now its own license, it's actually regulated, and there are many advantages to this, especially when you talk to the old world. So for example, we're working with Visa, and because we are regulated, Visa can open doors to us that otherwise would be impossible. And those have also directly implications to the business itself, like how cheaply can you operate? If you are yourself regulated, you don't have to work with a third party that is very costly for you, and you have to give those costs back to the user. But you can do it yourself, you can do it smarter, you can do it like Web3 native, and then save a lot of costs and make an overall much more competitive product. So we see regulation as being advantageous, and we want to be the party that can help regulators to take advantage of the innovation that we've been building all together, independent of if you are itself a regulated business or not. And there are many ways we can do this. One is KYC, for example, but also how even credit card transactions can be processed, like something like 3DS. There's something we can innovate on and have different ways to authenticate users via their private key and so on. So there are many small steps, I would say, where we can replace things how they have been done before in a better way. And yeah, we try to innovate and at the same time also have the licenses required in order to actually talk to the regulators and being taken seriously.
I think a lot of cool things were mentioned. So I do agree it's much easier to scale technical business geographically, and it's much more fun, to be honest. Having regulated business, so there are two elements. So getting license is usually not that difficult. Maintaining license is where most of the problems and where most of the resources come into. So it's expensive because of the resources you need to spend, and because of extra infrastructure you need to have to meet these requirements. So Wirex, we're kind of old company in the space. Well, old, not the right word, mature. It's the right word. So we license regulated, and because we're working with crypto debit cards, and we were the first company issuing Bitcoin debit cards back in the days in February 2015, long time ago. So that's why we were always sitting with kind of on two chairs, like crypto and fiat. And over the years, the regulation and regulators understands more about crypto. They still focusing on crypto as a high-risk investment rather than payment. So you will see that for this kind of payment use case, there is no really framework. It kind of fits into existing framework of e-money or e-money token, but it's still, not that easy. So in Wirex, we during our industry, we were using kind of two approaches. So one, we were working with third-party providers, and we work with a lot of companies in the space. Most of these companies, they were big, but they don't exist anymore. And we actually discovered this, hard way that, well, it's not a secret. So we work with companies like Wavecrest, Wirecard, Railsbank, and many, many more. They don't exist anymore. Big companies, good funding, everything good, licensed, regulated, all the checkboxes. But what we realized at some point that just fed up. And so we decided that licensing should be part of our business strategy. So it's why we went through the licensing and got the licenses in the countries, in the markets where we were focusing on. And what the licenses give you, so it moves you in a food chain a bit closer. So yes, you can cut middlemen, but you can control the flow. You can control your risks. So you don't have a counterparty risk. If something happens with a company, well, your business is gone. But also what it allows you to do, and what Zerion can't do it, is that you can build a better user experience. Because you don't have middlemen, so better meaning cheaper, just better UI, less friction points. Yeah, and that's kind of our story.
Let's start with that. I think that the good days of being able to say these fiat guys are deregulated guys and we are not part of it are slowly coming to an end, unfortunately. We loved it because as RAMP, it was, or it is still one of the key value propositions, and the value proposition is we are your specialized partner and we are going to help you avoid many, if not most, of the chores of running this crypto to fiat interactions or touch points for your users. And now that we see FinProm, where Stephen just told you about this new framework where an entirely unregulated crypto-only company could be now put on a warning list and delisted from App Store just because it is giving an option to buy crypto to UK residents, even though they do not provide this service, is a start of something new. And we are going to see how this unfolds. So obviously, as Ramp, we are helping our partners deal with it. So we put together like a package where you can just come in, and we're going to hold your hand as we go through the process of getting this approval required by the FCA to be able to operate in the UK under this new FinProm framework. But I think that the power that comes with covering such companies with these regulations is going to be unresistible to most regulators around the world. So they're going to see this and say, oh, that's very clever, FCA. I want this power as well for myself. Where do I start? Okay, like this is the blueprint. Thank you for figuring this out. So there's going to be only more and more of such situations, which brings us back to the only way I believe you can solve it, which is if you want to be global, just as global as Web3 is, you need to work with someone who can figure out all of these challenges together with you and sometimes for you on a global scale. And the only way to do that is either to morph into a behemoth with dozens of licenses and local expertise across dozens of markets, or work with a specialized partner. And I think the actually smart way that is going to save you money and allow you to build better user experience is going to be to partner up with someone who specializes in this. So I'm not entirely convinced on this like cutting out middleman thing, because in this case, this middleman is going to come to the rescue because we help think through and to some degree solve these problems for hundreds of our partners. So it's hundreds of partners is good enough for us to hire dozens of lawyers, which is not something that you want to do, believe me. And this is what we do for you. So I think that there's going to be more and more of regulatory pressure, including some new creative ways to capture this market, just as we saw it in very tangible terms in the UK. And at the same time, we believe that like partners like Ramp are a great starting point for you to start looking into it and solve it. And then one last point to end up on a more positive note: the more regulated this space is, the better access we get as Web3 space to better payment rails. Truly, some of the things that seemed out of reach 2 or 3 years ago now are possible. And banks and payment service providers are now happy to open up access to these products of theirs precisely because there is more regulatory clarity. So there is some upside to this regulatory pressure. And I think if we can be clever about this and navigate this effectively and work together with regulators, also to show them where they are maybe overdoing stuff, which sometimes is the case. And we at Ramp, we have touch points and we interact with, I think, a dozen. It would be fair to say that we interact with a dozen of different regulators. We can actually help Web3 win through that, through better, deeper access to fiat rails that regulations and regulatory clarity enables.
Can I just add
Yeah,
one
sure.
thing on the FinProm? Seems to be kind of repeating theme today. So, so FinProm only investment is in scope for FinProm. So if you're a Gnosis Pay user and you're receiving crypto and spending crypto, that's not subject for FinProm, so you don't need to go through the surveys. Also, if you receive crypto and convert it to another crypto, is not for scope. So only buying crypto is in scope. Talking about regulators, trying to protect us. So in the UK, there is an upcoming regulation for APP scams as well, where payment providers will need to compensate the scam victims as well. That's another fun we're expecting this summer.
thanks a lot for all this good news and to let us know the regulators are coming for all of us. We are reaching the end of this panel, so I want to say a big thank you to all the speakers for sharing their thoughts about it. So yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you.